Welcome, everybody, to Connecting the Universe. I'm author and researcher Mike Ricksecker, back at you with another interactive class out of the secret library of the Connected Universe. This is actually our first interactive one for the new year because the first one was pre-recorded. The last one was an Edge of the Rabbit Hole show, so I guess that was technically interactive. But for Connecting the Universe specifically, here we go. First of 2025. We're going to be getting into phantom explosions and the hum. What in the world are these things that people have been hearing all over the world for decades, hundreds of years, millennia? We'll get into all of that this evening. Do want to let those know that are watching the podcast version of this later. Please join us every Wednesday night, live 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time here on ConnectedUniversePortal.com. Also, you can join us on the YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/@mricksecker. That's Mike Ricksecker YouTube channel. I would love to have all of you out here. Do have some event announcements to throw out there. First event of the season, Conscious Life Expo. That is coming up here February 9th through the 10th, right? No, 8th through the 10th. I had to think about that. No, it's 7th through the 10th. Man, I can't count. Friday the 7th, technically through the 9th, and then they have some after show stuff there on the 10th. So that's in Los Angeles. And yeah, our hearts do go out to all of those that are suffering there in Los Angeles right now. It's really, really heartbreaking. But that is actually still happening there in LA. I do have my book Portals for to the Stars that is up for the book awards there. So please go to their book awards page and vote for Portals to the Stars. That has been out since October now and travels through time. The first book in this series actually won the award last year, second place it took. And actually, you can see right now, Portals to the Stars is not on. Where'd it go? I must have that somewhere in the house. I was probably looking something up. Oh, yeah, it's over there on the desk. I was using it for my morning mug video earlier. So also, coming up April 5th is the Portals to the Stars special event that is in Rahway, New Jersey, Merchants and Drovers Tavern Museum. And so, yeah, this is out in New Jersey. We're going to be talking about New Jersey here in just a moment when we come to these phantom explosions. I have an interesting clip for you. And this is the place where we've had all the drones. We've had sightings of all kinds of plasma events and things like this. So you can bet we will be diving into all of that out there during this particular event. This is a 4-part special presentation: Stargates, portals, angel symbolism, Egypt Atlantis connection, triangle areas of the world, consciousness and time travel, and so much more. It's April 5th. You can go to MikeRicksecker.com. The links are down there in the description. Please join us for that in New Jersey. And then, of course, later this year in November, the Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. Muhammad and I are back presenting all of this wonderful esoteric wisdom to you. We're going to some fascinating locations. Of course, we also get 2 hours, just our group, inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. Again, go to my website, MikeRicksecker.com. Go to the events and tours page, and you'll find the sign up right there. It is an absolutely life-changing event. And this time we are going to some additional locations that I have not yet even been to myself. But we are going to be investigating the Stargates out there. And they are out there. They are right there in plain sight. There's Tom. Yes. Good cold evening. Yeah, it's been extremely, extremely cold here, Tom. I imagine you are even chillier out there in Chicago, but it's been pretty darn cold here in Cleveland as well. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into all of this. The phantom explosions. What in the world are these? And these are explosive sounds that people report hearing. They'll even like shake the house, shake the neighborhood, all these sorts of things. And there's seemingly no source for these things whatsoever. People have no idea what's going on here. Same thing with the hum. So I'm going to play you this clip. So Scott Davis, you can find him on TikTok as Scotty the Medium. He's out there in New Jersey. We had him on the show about the New Jersey drones with Ronnie LeBlanc back in December, the three of us in Victoria, It was the Edge of the Rabbit Hole episode, and he's right there in New Jersey. He's a law enforcement officer, aside from doing all the psychic medium stuff, and he had footage for us from the drones out there, and then all of a sudden these phantom explosions started popping up out there, and so I'm going to go ahead and play this clip for you. And those that are listening to this on the podcast, you're just going to hear an explosion. But for those that are watching the video, this is why you need to come out here on the live broadcast. For those that are watching this, also take note on the left-hand side of the screen. And play that again real quick. You saw that flash of light, right? Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. So for this particular report, when this happened twice that evening. 10:30 p.m. was the first time. And that particular clip right there was the 10:30 explosion. And then it was like 3:45 in the morning, and boom, it went off again. So people called this in. They're like, hey, we heard these explosions. What's going on? And the police told them, well, a transformer blew up. Okay, except there were no power outages. People called the electric company, and the electric company was like, we didn't have any transformers blow up. The grid stayed up. Everything was perfectly fine. So it makes you wonder, what is this discrepancy between the police saying, oh, it was the electric company, the electric company saying, hey, don't look at us. It was not us. We didn't cause whatever it was that happened. So already you have a little, what's going on here? So, and I like this one. We're going to talk about this. Industrial Crow, the underground civilization is busy building the drones. Yeah, perhaps we will get into some underground civilization stuff as we go on through here. So I posted a clip on this, and I'm sorry, I'm going to drink a bit of water throughout this. I've been nursing a little bit of a sore throat here the past couple of days. It's getting better, but still a little scratchiness in there. A lot of people said, well, it was a sonic boom. It was some sort of plane, and boom, sonic boom. Well, for one, I'm an Air Force vet. I've been around flight lines and sonic booms and all kinds of stuff for, 6 years in the Air Force. Not so much the last 3 years, because come on, I was at NSA. We weren't getting buzzed by airplanes over there. But when I was in Alaska, Elmendorf, yeah. And then when I was a kid in Massachusetts, we lived right over by Westover Air Force Base. And there'd be times that we'd be like at school out on the playground, and boom, sonic boom would go off because one of the jets hit that. So I know what a sonic boom sounds like from an airplane. And it wasn't quite that sound. It was a little bit different. It's a little bit off from a sonic boom from a plane. The other thing is you have the flash of light. And when a plane achieves a sonic boom, there's not a flash of light like that. So, it was not an airplane. Again, excuse me. We're going to see how well I can get through this. So, excuse me again. Sorry you had to experience that. So, if not a sonic boom from an airplane, you have the flash of light, then what is it? I am open to this. Sonic boom from some sort of plasma event. Now, we have talked about plasma events quite a bit here lately, over the past month and a half, as we've gone through this drone thing. And so this is that blog article that I posted last month, plasmoids, portals, or actually it was earlier this month, plasmoids, portals, or extraterrestrials. I also have, and I'll link it all here, the video I also put out on plasmoids, orbs, or extraterrestrials, because we've been seeing a lot of these things lately. I posted about how we've seen this a lot in Scotland. I had a lot of reports come out of there. And as I posted that, more and more people were coming forward. And of course, we also saw the plasma events, the plasmoids there in New Jersey as well. Those were some of the first ones that we saw. The drones were going overhead. People were looking up, and they were also seeing these balls of light. And some of them were like, this vivid gold up there. Others, like ABC News, caught. And that was one of the things was you had, people say, well, where are the professional photographers? It's like, that was a professional photographer that posted that, saying, this is what I caught. And then, ABC News with their news cameras looking up, they're saying that's a drone up there, and you're looking at it in the camera, and it's a ball of light. It's like, okay, what's going on here? And then, yes, these other ones from Scotland. So, so we've been seeing these plasma events. So it has to make you wonder, okay, the plasma event happens, and depending on where it was coming out of, like if this is something, when we talked about possible portal or something connecting us to another dimension, when it crosses that barrier, did it happen to make that sound at this particular point in time? Now, in this video clip, it just looks like a flash of light and then goes away, but we don't know what may have still been in the air after that, because it's far away enough that you can't see it in that particular clip. And there are other clips that you can find out on the internet that kind of show the same thing. So seeing some other people come on into the chat. Nobody's paranormal in here. You better, great to see you. And then yeah, industrial, we heard repeating booms near San Antonio, and everyone in next door were hearing them. Yeah, and that was nothing. So I posted this and had people from other parts of the country, other parts of the world saying, yeah, we've been hearing these things too. Somebody from Pennsylvania had contacted me and said, yeah, we hear these actually on a regular basis, these big booms. And yeah, even you kind of look back into like some historical stories. Wisconsin, about 12 years ago, people were hearing these booms just like out of nowhere. So these things do happen. It is interesting that you had the flash of light in the possible plasma event along with it. So we also had the people wondering if they were earthquakes. So here's the thing about that. And in reading some of these reports from back in the day, people were even offering this as an idea, like even with this, Wisconsin event here, Wisconsin town plagued by mysterious booming noises. That was one of the suggestions was, well, some sort of earthquake. Well, but people didn't feel, okay, here's the thing. Yeah, you hear the explosion, shakes the house for a moment, like a fleeting second, and then it's gone. Didn't pop up on anybody's seismograph, which is kind of interesting. Now, I've been through earthquakes. When I was in Alaska, we got earthquakes up there quite often. I've been in California many times. I've been there for earthquakes. And those ones that are, and they're saying, oh, micro earthquakes, they're not going to show up on the seismic. What do you mean they're not going to show up on the seismograph? And if they don't, like even like little 2-pointers or whatever, you feel a rumble. Oh, okay, the earth's moving a little bit, and you don't hear a lot with those, right? You might hear a touch of a rumble, but if they're not really showing up on the seismograph, you just kind of feel it, like the earth is moving a little bit. I have heard one go off like a cannon before. And that one was in Alaska, and that was a 6.7. And I was in the dorms at the time. I was a young airman, and it's early 93. And yeah, it sounded like a cannon went off, boom. And I'm on an Air Force base, and you're like, oh crap. Did something blow up? That's what you think. Did something blow up? This was just after the end of the Cold War. We had no idea what was going on with the former Soviet Union at the time. And I mean, Alaska's not that far from there. So you're like wondering, is something going on? But then you felt the sway and you heard the rumble, after that. And I was like, oh, it's an earthquake. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think these were earthquakes, people. With that flash of light, There are things known as earthquake lights, but they don't usually happen like that. And earthquake lights are kind of an elusive thing. Because they don't always happen with earthquakes. And those that are, scientists are doing research into this because they have been observed many times. And scientists are looking into them to determine whether or not they could actually be predictors of an impending earthquake. Like, okay, we're seeing the lights. And basically, the idea is that it's a plasma buildup. And then you see the light, there it is, kind of hovering for a while, like, what's the light on the horizon? And then all of a sudden you hear the rumble, there goes the earthquake, and then the light disappears. So so that's an idea of what an earthquake light is. This, and I'm going to play it again for those that are coming in a little bit later here. This is not that. That's not what that is. So, we got Lady Hinsdale in the house, and Tom, could be ball lightning. And see, that's kind of a thing there. Is it a storm? Okay. Ball lightning storm thing. That's another one that got thrown out there. Great to see you as well, Sylvain. See, Ubetta says no boom so far, but drones about every night near Des Moines International Airport. Okay, good to know. Good to know that you're having drones over there, but in Des Moines. Yeah, so Tom, with the idea of ball lightning, and we talked about this in the plasmoids episode a couple of weeks ago. Ball lightning is generally seen or observed in a couple of different situations. One, in and around storms that are going on, and two, near electrical lines. So we don't know. I mean, I have to get a better look at precisely where that was. Now, if that happened near an electrical line, then you probably would have had electrical problems reported by the electric company, which again, the electric company is saying, no, not us. Nothing blew up. We didn't have any problems. Nobody lost their electricity. During a storm, well, there were no storms. There were no storms that night. Perfectly clear night. We're talking New Jersey in the dead of winter when it's been extremely cold. We're not having thunderstorms right now. We don't have that sort of atmosphere right now, in the frigid Northeast to be able to generate something like that. So yeah, not ball lightning, although it still could be, again, some sort of plasmoid event that, and that's the question. Okay, if it is a plasmoid event, then where did it come from and why did it happen? That part we don't know. And that's where it starts to get a little speculative. And even when I've proposed that, some of these plasmoids and things like that we're seeing in the sky may be portals to, some of these other dimensions and that sort of thing. Is that where the drones are coming from, right? Did they, because we're seeing them together. Is that the portal? And again, going back to that idea of a wormhole in three-dimensional space is not just going to be a circle sitting there in the air for you to travel through. It's going to be a spherical hole. It's going to be a sphere. So a plasmoid would fit that sort of description. So are the drones moving in and out of there? In New Jersey, having had all of this stuff happening there lately with the drones, was that some sort of event to send some more drones in, pick some up? And it happened twice. So you could conceivably say, well, showed up at 10:30 to drop somebody off, came back at 3:45 to pick somebody up. I don't know. Maybe they went out on night on the town in Jersey. I have no idea. Again, that's getting a little speculative though. So, all right, before I move on, I do have my own story with the phantom explosions. So I was living in Pasadena, Maryland at the time. This is about 10, 12 years ago. And the neighborhood that I was living at the time, and I just grabbed this photo off of Google Maps, and it's pretty much a neighborhood. They cut some of the trees down, but that's the neighborhood, and that's the street. And every once in a while, we'd be sitting out there, and just kind of in the front yard, well, garage area, and just having some coffees and talking and all that sort of thing. And all of a sudden, boom! What the heck? What just happened? We'd hear that explosion like that, and there people in the neighborhood kind of looking around, but nothing. There was nothing. We used to joke around that there were some questionable people that were in the one house on the other side of the road, a couple houses down. And so we used to joke around that it was the crack house. It was the meth lab. I'm sorry. It was the meth lab, and they blew up the meth lab, just got like out of Breaking Bad or something like that. They blew up the meth lab. But of course it wasn't. And this happened, and it was random. You couldn't really pinpoint when it would happen. Sometimes it would happen during the day. Sometimes it would happen at night. There wasn't really any consistency to it. And there was no like steady interval. It's not like it happened once a month. It's not like it happened once a week. It would be like just randomly. It could have been 2 weeks in between. It could have been a month in between, 2 months in between. Boom, it would go off. So this one particular morning, I think it was a Saturday morning because I was sleeping in a little bit. Might have been a Sunday morning, either one. I think it was a weekend day. And I'm lying in bed, and all of a sudden, boom! It was like something that blew up right outside the window. And here, I'll throw this photo back up again. So that house there on the right-hand side, the window at the very end of the house. So that was the bedroom window to the outside. And you can see the electric pole right there. I thought that transformer up there exploded because it boom, and the house shook on that one. And it's like, oh my God, we're going to be without power all day. They're going to have to come out here and fix this. And I'm already thinking, I'm not going to be able to, do things on the computer and whatever projects I was working on at the time. No, I'm hosed today. And I look out the window, and it's like, transformer looks fine. I'm looking around. Power's still on. There were a couple people down the street. They're kind of looking up like this, like, where was it? Because they certainly heard it. It shook things pretty well, but nothing. And this was like right outside the window. So it would have been like off the ground enough to shake the house, and nothing. There wasn't a thing there. So what in the world was it? I do address this a bit in Portals to the Stars, because these could be some sort of events that are happening between our dimension and some other dimension out there, fifth, sixth, seventh, whatever, and synchronization issue. Something's trying to get through and isn't quite able to, or maybe something is getting through and is causing that noise. It's really hard to say, but it's something that definitely warrants more investigation and more research in. So, Mr. Cuban, maybe it's like CERN alien style. maybe. So I've talked about this a little bit in the past. I've never actually done a specific show on this before. And I had somebody from Maryland actually tell me one time, well, maybe it's the Aberdeen Proving Grounds. And I'm like, okay, so Pasadena, Maryland is south of Baltimore. Aberdeen is north of Baltimore. If Aberdeen did something in some sort of explosive device that they were testing that absolutely rocked and shook my house in Pasadena, that would have been all over the news in Baltimore, that they're shaking buildings, and that would have absolutely rocked the city of Baltimore. Nothing. It was not Aberdeen. No. Now, if you want to say neighborhood around Aberdeen, what, fine, but no, being south of the city, and that's north of. Nope, nope, that was not Aberdeen. Sorry. So, all right. Related to this is what's known as the hum. Let's get into the hum. What is the hum? Well, this is a very low-level droning sound that a lot of people hear. Not everybody hears it, but a lot of people do hear this just low-level droning noise kind of in the background. You just try to just sit quiet. You can hear it. I hear it here. Usually it's like when I'm going to sleep at night and I'm just lying down and all of a sudden you hear, like that. It's like, what in the world? And it doesn't happen every night. It's, on occasion, well, it's a little bit more than on occasion. It's on occasion I don't hear it. So it's actually most nights. Again, not extremely consistent because it might be fine when I first lie down to sleep at night. I usually go to bed. I mean, it might be 12:30, 1 a.m., something like that. And I might lay down and nothing. And then all of a sudden, okay, why did you start? There might be times I lie down and it's already going. Be times I lie down and nothing never happens. It's really, really inconsistent. There aren't specific days and all that sort of thing. Now, you could say, well, Mike, you live in the Cleveland, Ohio area. Yeah, I do. About 20, 25 miles west of the city. And Cleveland is known as, industrial town. Yeah, not as much anymore. And the industry isn't on our side. I mean, the steel yards are southeast of the city, just a little ways, and that's a ways from here. Now, I have heard that sound when I was a kid staying over at my grandparents' house. And you couldn't make a case for that because they were much closer to the city. So you could say, maybe it's the noise from the city and that sort of thing. But I'm just going to throw up a bunch of article snippets here. So this is one that was in Popular Mechanics. A ghostly nighttime hum is invading random towns. Their example was in Ireland. Here is San Francisco, tracking down a mysterious hum in San Francisco. This is Bristol in the UK. Bristol hum. Residents report return of mysterious noise. This is Swansea in Wales. Mysterious high-pitched sound. High-pitched in this one is being reported across Swansea. This is Windsor, Ontario. Infamous Windsor hum finally dies down as U.S. steel idles. Now, this is one where they actually did try to pinpoint it onto the U.S. steel industry, but still it's, hard to really discern if that's it or not. This is Sydney, Australia. Theories behind the hum phenomenon reportedly by only some people in Sydney and around the world. So, yeah, it's not just here, it's everywhere. And somebody's actually gone ahead and made a worldwide hum map. So, yeah, somebody took the time to collect enough data from all the reported hum. It wouldn't be sightings. It'd be hum hearings from around the world. And you do see this high concentration there of, highly populated areas, of course. And then some of these places, I mean, you're not going to get any data out of Siberia and places like that. Sahara Desert, of course, because nobody's even living there. But yeah, so this is a phenomenon that is heard all over the world. So, what is it? Is it the machinery? Is it from, industrialized nations and, they're doing things at different hours of the night? Maybe they had a batch of steel to run through and we're hearing it. Maybe. Is there some sort of underground military operation that's going on? Something that the government is doing that nobody's talking about? Because if it was just industry, then I don't think you'd see all these articles pop up like this. Like, Popular Mechanics, after decades, hundreds of years of this sort of thing happening. And this, article is from 2023. why are they still talking about it now? They would have decades ago said, "Oh yeah, it's the steel plant down there, or it's the car plant over there that's making that noise." No, so they're still wondering what in the world it is. So is it underground government operations? Because we know how secretive the government is, and they don't ever want to tell anybody anything of what's going on. Even with the drones, we don't know what's going on. We're sure it's not a foreign adversary. Well, if you don't know what it is, and how can you be sure it's not a foreign adversary? Okay, why don't you go up there and take a look? Well, no. No. They just let it go. They let people stop talking about it. It's still going on. It's still happening, but they just refused to talk about it, denied everything. And because other newsworthy things have come up over the last month and a half, people have stopped talking about it. And that's what they hoped for. So, so they're not going to tell us if they're doing something underground. We do know of some things that go on underground. There's Cheyenne Mountain in the NORAD installation, of course. NSA, the newer NSA installation, multi-billion-dollar installation in Utah. How far down does it go? Raven Rock Mountain in Pennsylvania, which they call like the underground Pentagon. So we do know that the U.S. government has a lot of underground installations and things that they are doing. Even like this this neutrino research that they're doing now. They have the basically, I don't even want to call it the neutrino gun set up in Chicago, and then out there in South Dakota, they went down into some old gold mines, carved them out much deeper, and I forget the exact length. It's massive, though. It's huge, and they set up some other equipment in there, and they're shooting neutrinos 800 miles from Chicago to South Dakota through the earth to do some testing. So all that's underground. So we know that there are a lot of things that are happening under the earth. Of course, then there's the idea of the Dulce base in New Mexico. Does it really exist? This is something people have been talking about for a while as well. So this is supposed to be 4 miles in diameter around Dulce, New Mexico. It drops several levels into the earth. It's believed that there are extraterrestrials working in tandem with humans at this base, as well as other locations around the world, of course. And there's supposed to be a lot of UFO activity around there. So that one, yes, a bit more speculative. Where do we have the concrete evidence that the base exists? A lot of the stories out of there are more anecdotal in nature. But, with all the other underground bases that we know exist, Area 51, another one, we know there's a lot of underground stuff there. It would make sense that there are other areas that have things going on, that the government has set up shop. I mean, I've been involved when I was in the military at locations that were secretive underground, were secretive in plain sight. You didn't know that it was a government operation. I can't tell you exactly what they were and where they were, but I was there. I know they existed. They happen. So this also could be, yes, something going on with the military or with the government. So then there's the idea of, are these possibly underground civilizations, like other life forms that are down there doing their thing? And this is something that we explored a bit month and a half ago. It was just before the drone stuff, where we talked about underground civilizations. And so I have that link down in the description as well. And we covered, a lot of the legends, of course, that come out of the American Southwest from the indigenous tribes, where they talked about the ant people living underground, that during the cataclysm, they saved the humans. They weren't they were underground. And I still propose the idea that, okay, if this was the Great Flood, because that's the story, well, if they're underground in this giant cave, would have gotten flooded out. So was it underground and then through some sort of portal or stargate or whatever into another dimension or some other place that would have been a little bit safer? Talked a little bit about the same thing with Admiral Byrd, where when he was supposed to have flown into that cave down there by the South Pole, was it something that took him to like another realm? That it wasn't quite, it was on Earth, but not of our dimension. Excuse me. Trying to power through this. And we talked a little bit about the Harvard UFO research paper from last year, which proposed that same idea of extraterrestrials living underground or alongside us. Excuse me, or alongside us in another dimension, and all that's on the table. In the Harvard research paper, it was wonderful. Harvard, but the one guy was from Montana. Wonderful that they published that, because we've been talking about that for decades and decades and decades. And so it was great to have academics come forward and say, even though it was stuff we've been talking about already, it's like, this isn't new. To have an academic paper put out there was wonderful. So you have all kinds of stories, like the Irchinhat from Alaska, and great story that came out. It was 2007. There was this bunch of hunters found this boy. It was just out there in the wilderness, and where they had found him at, he was standing in the snow, and no footprints or tracks around him whatsoever. He was just standing there like shocked. And the hunters had been around there, and they're like, where the heck does this boy come from? We didn't see him before. And so they got him to some safety. And once he got talking a little bit, what he said was that the urchin hunt, these are basically like the little people, had taken him inside Pilcher Mountain. And while he was in there, he didn't specifically say time worked differently. What he said was that there was a girl that he met, and they were kind of playing and interacting together. And the girl told him that she had been there for 40 years. Now, she was just a little girl, but she was saying she had been there for 40 years. Irchinha ended up letting the boy go for whatever reason. But it gives this idea that wherever they had taken him, time and space worked differently. And so is that what is happening in that? Not only are they going into these underground areas, but they're also taking them into like another dimension, or some other plane of existence that is outside of our scope of time, something that we'd call, yes, another dimension. Because once you go, we're on the fourth, this is time. And once you go fifth, sixth, seventh, and onward, eighth, up to 11 hyperspatial dimensions, 0 to 10, that you're outside the scope of time. Time works differently because you're no longer in time. So yeah, all that is on the table. We could be hearing something else going on underground. Out, people talk about the hollow earth, and I don't believe in the hollow earth in the traditional sense that, yeah, there's a internal sun, you got all this stuff, the kind of classic representations. I believe there are great hollow spaces within the earth, like old lava tubes and magma chambers and things like that, in which, yes, life forms could develop their own little civilizations in those areas and maybe start to burrow out some more stuff and things like that. Is kind of how I believe that would work. So the other thing that I want to mention here, we're probably going to wrap this up a little bit earlier because I don't know how much more my voice can go at this point. It's starting to get to me a little bit. Is As we've done a lot of the research in Egypt, throw up the pyramids here. Well, we've talked before about like the idea of the Giza power plant. And yeah, that's controversial. But we even have scientific papers, scientific research that has been done here over the last several years that has said, yes, the pyramids are harnessing energy from the ground. So it's drawing forth a resonant energy that if you're drawing energy from the ground, you can hear that sort of electrical sound to a degree. So it would create a bit of a hum there, in and around these great sites like that. And even in my own, this is just something recent, kind of funny. Just recently here, excuse me, as I was taking down the last thing that I took down for Christmas was the wreath on the door. This was just over the weekend, and put the wreath down on the floor, took the batteries out because it lights up, and I was putting those away, doing some other things, and because I get distracted doing whatever, came back, and the lights on the wreath are still on. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Did it somehow continue to hold a charge? Now, I even put this into the off position, okay? So no batteries, and you can kind of see, on the side there, left-hand side, the battery pack is open. There's nothing in it. And actually, one of the little metal pieces within it kind of fell out. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to fix that. But the lights are still on. So I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. I left it there. Came back a couple hours later, started to get a little darker. Oh, the lights are still on. Uh-huh. And of course, you know what I did then? Left it on, right? Here it is at night. It is still all lit up. Like, what in the world is going on here? And to me, it's extremely natural, but it adheres to the idea that there is energy resonating from our ground. So next morning, there they are, still on, of course. And I still have it there. Days later, still sitting there. No batteries, in the off position. Now, if I pick it up off the ground, the lights turn off. The lights will turn off if I pick it up off the ground. Put it back on the ground, it lights back up. So it's drawing resonant energy off the ground. So it's just a cool little science thing, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool. And yes, Tom, I know Victoria would challenge me on the whole no, she's actually on board with the hallowed earth thing. So yeah, it's a cool little sciencey thing with the wreath. I'm gonna have to put it away here and get it out of the foyer, but it was just kind of cool to see this go on for days and days and days, no batteries, and the thing is still lit up. But kind of proves our point of that energy is rising up out of the ground. And this is, we've talked about it before in here. This is where we have our hotspot energies or hotspot areas of the globe, like the pyramids. That's why they built them there. Our stone circles, that's they built the stone circles to harness the energy coming up out of the ground, and they found those hotspots that had even more energy to be able to harness. And so that energy may also have an associated sound that some of us may be able to hear, that kind of low droning noise, that sort of thing, to go along with it. So all right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And I know Tom and other members of the Connected Universe portal, we usually do the after show. I'm not going to do that this evening, unfortunately, because I need to take care of that. So I'm going to do some tea and all that. And hopefully, I'm going to have a conference here that I'm speaking at soon. So hopefully I get that resolved by then. So I'm not doing this in the middle of the conference. But I wanted to bring this stuff to you guys this evening. So again, those that are listening to the podcast version of this later, please join us every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, connecteduniverseportal.com, or the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@mricksecker. And we'll see you next time. Time really exists.